New this morning, the city of Quincy has collected $1.5 million from its food and alcoholic beverage tax in a year. A report from the city's planning and development department says the city established the 1% tax in January of 2021. It collects money from establishments like these, the Quincy Brewing Company. You're taking a live look at that this morning. Mayor Mike Trope says the revenue generated from the tax has been used to attract more people to Quincy via tourism, help pay for housing for those who relocate and join the local workforce, and bring in global developers like Target.
$1 million of the $1.5 million that we collected is part of an incentive that we're using, that we did use to actually attract the developer to Quincy that is converting the Kmart property into a new Target store. So I think that's money well invested in the community.
The tax ordinance is set to end on April 30th, 2025.